I'm doing amazing. How are you today?
I am amazing as well.
Awesome. Well, good to be on with you. I see you there. Let me turn on my video real quick. 1 second.
I was trying to send you. I was writing you an email because I can access the video meeting. No problem.
Can you see me okay?
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing amazing, man. Doing amazing. Glad to be on with you. I have some time carved out for you today to talk about the SAAS company. I don't think we're talking about Volmond. I think we're talking about something else, right?
Okay.
Which is the SaaS company we're talking about? Which idea?
I sent you an email related with Minnzer. I think that we can talk about it because
Minnzer. That's right. Yeah, it was Minnzer. Yeah, I remember you sending me that email. Let me just pull that up really quick. 1 second.
I think that it could be related with the goals of your company because I am seeing that you are focused in an academy for software as a software companies. And well, at this point, I have been facing various challenges. I am only in the UX research phase because what I'm trying to do is to find different ways to connect humanity by compatibility in goals and problems to solve. So I started with a pre-pitch deck, and I have been sharing some features and some ideas that I have been validating. And I also prepared a cooperation proposal related with some of my purposes, and I shared that proposal with some people from social networks that I have on my LinkedIn network, and I was waiting to see what happened. The point is that I think that we need to define a new standard related with like the hashtags related with how we can integrate features for problem management and goal management in different social networks, and how we can create a dashboard or a main platform in order to handle all of these affairs. So that's like what I'm trying to do. The point is that I need to start discussions with the people in the environment, with people working in social media or in the social network, or the people who are working in the software industry, mainly the big tech. So that's what I'm doing. I would love to accelerate it, but it is out of my hand. That's like the point.
It's out of your hands.
Sorry?
You said it's out of your hands.
Yes, there are a lot of things out of my hands. So I think that the main finding is that, for example, if we create a social network only for goal setting and problem setting, and I think that we will lose a lot of things in the different social network, and it will be harder to combine new users to use a specific platform for that kind of affairs. And I am trying to, first of all, to validate the pertinency of that kind of things. And I also trying to connect with Elon Musk because he acquired Twitter, and I have been trying to wait. I am waiting to see what could happen, what kind of ideas are they having. Anyway, anyhow, I have been sharing the proposal for the people that I have on my LinkedIn network. I have at least 7 or 10 people from Twitter, for example. So I am at this stage. That's like the main issue that I am having with that with that goal.
How did you come up with this idea?
It is related with my experience. I started since 2016 to work in a very 2018 in a very systematic way when I started to learn how to draft patents. And since then, I have been thinking schemes to connect people by goals and problems. So that's like something that I have been validating during my life, throughout my life. And with the time, I reached the current state, and I started to think since the past year how to make it in this manner because I was in Silicon Valley and I attempted to connect with different organizations. And so in different conversations, I have been feeling that, for example, in my case, I have been doing experiment with WhatsApp groups or work or different groups in social media. And for example, I create the groups and I set the goals, and I'm trying to invite the people when you have clear goals of different groups in order to organize different communities of people. That's something
Yeah.
spontaneous during my process.
And have you built like a prototype of the product yet?
No, I think that it is not a good idea because I prefer to collect as much as possible hypotheses related with the user feature or user stories. And if I create a prototype, I think that I can. It is not a good step because I can handle, if, for example, a big tech related with social network will use the idea. So the point is that I try to uh, conduct make as much connection as possible in order to share the main idea and to validate things like that we can create a new standard related. If you read the proposal, I told about, for example, goal management and problem management, goal setting and problem setting, and it could have specific features. And I think that we need to create a lot of partnership related with how can change a lot of experiences with the social network navigation and things like that. Because, for example, if you share a post on LinkedIn, you can set a goal with the post if you like. If, for example, it is a picture or a video, and you define that goal with that post in the web. So if anyone else will see anything related with a similar goal, you need to create like a search engine for goals or problems, and you can match with people in different places because you can set it. The point that you need to create like an API or web service on LinkedIn in order to allow to use that information in the web, and you can search it in different things. The point is that I don't know. For example, when you are working in particular goals, if you are obsessed about a particular goal or particular problem, and if you start to share on the web who is anyone else it could have similar goals or something related with that goal, you can connect with people with that specific pattern. So I trying to keep brainstorming about it, and I don't know the final output. So the point is that I am trying to, I am planning my trip again to Silicon Valley, maybe in the last of this year or maybe next year, and I am planning to propose with the new ideas, and I'm planning to visit the company. For example, last year, no, it was when at first of this year, I tried to reach Mark Zuckerberg. I searched for his house on Google, and I was visiting that house, and someone of security started to take me picture, and I think that I was maybe violating any law or something like this, and I left. So the point is that I'm trying to do that kind of things. I don't know. If we're talking at this case, you can connect with someone else or something like this, and that's the point. I prefer to reach the leaders and to set particular goals in how might we problems. If you read the proposal, you will see that I set some questions in how might we statement, and that's what I'm trying to do. In fact, for example, I'm trying to connect. I am connecting with someone from Stanford, from the innovation department of the design school, and I'm trying to keep brainstorming in Silicon Valley because I am aware that if you want to change something like this, the right place is Silicon Valley because you can have access to the different companies and it will be easier. But like now, as now that I am in Colombia, it will be more difficult. That's like the point, and that's like the situation with that idea. For example, in terms of if I reach people like the dream team, I only connect with one person from Colombia. He was brainstorming with me in some stages, but he stopped at this moment. We can continue with the meetings, and I am also connecting with someone from Washington. He was also interested in the main idea, and he told me, let's connect when you feel ready to start a prototype, but I don't want to make someone time creating a prototype if we don't have potential partnerships validated, for example. So that's I need to finish that
Andres,
stage. That's the point.
Andres,
Yes.
can I ask you a question? Do you believe that you have to invest a lot of money into building a prototype?
Yeah. I am able to make it in different ways. So I am able to make it like corporate entrepreneurship. I don't know if, for example, I pitch it in a clear way to a particular social network, and they say, "Oh, let's make it together." But at this moment, I am not thinking about invest my own resources and make a prototype because it makes no sense for me. I think that it will be necessary to combine an organization or persons to
Yeah.
make a prototype.
What do you think is involved in building a prototype?
Sorry,
What do you think is involved in building a prototype?
there are a lot of things related, but in my particular case, my main challenge will be related with if in the long term, with the management of big amounts of information and data, or the integration between the different social networks. But in terms of how to lead and conduct a research in order to set features and things like that, if we have the resources, I think that it is not a challenge itself. I prefer to validate that we have the right features, and that we validate with people with expertise in particular field, that we are creating something that makes sense for humanity. That's like the point. But the challenge.
How will you know when the product is validated?
So, like the example that I provide you, I want to try to reach uh, some social networks, or people working on social network, or if I can reach the leaders, it will be better. But I want to make it at first prior to create a prototype, because I think that, for example, I have
Hey,
ideas to.
I'm gonna turn off my video because you're breaking up pretty good. Okay, 1 second.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
good. Yes. So the point, like I told you,
Right.
the right moment, I don't know. I will feel that it is out of my hands. I am aware that I can keep doing by myself is to share the idea with as much people as possible, and to keep thinking about it. And the right moment is out of my hands. So I am not pressured about it. I think that at any moment we need to discuss something like this,
Yeah.
because it could also depends in the collective intelligence of humanity. Because if you think that at this moment, if you set a hashtag, if you want to create a trend, it is like a disordered way to try to create trends or connect people. So with the time, or at least the people with more performance attempt to organize themselves by goals and setting the things. And I think that we need to create something to help people to organize in that way. So that's like the point. I prefer to wait for the right moment. I think that it is out of my hand.
Yeah. So it's we're a coaching company. Do you understand that we're a coaching company? That SAAS Academy.
No, I don't understand it very well. So I was trying to ask you about how do you think that we can make a partnership, or how it works, in order to understand a little bit more and have a clear
Yeah.
part
So
about it.
SAAS Academy is a coaching company, and what we do is we provide coaching tools and support for founders who are building software products, right? And it's evident to me that you're working on an idea, but you don't have a clear timeline for when you want to start materializing it,
Yeah.
and you're more focused on validation. And it's also clear to me, if I can be very honest with you, is it okay if I'm honest with you?
Okay, I'm listening. Yes, of course.
Okay. It's clear to me that you feel like you're not in control of the product, of the idea. Like you don't have control around your timeline or your destiny. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, I understand.
So, what as a coaching company, we definitely you're not at a place where we can help you. So I'll be very upfront there because you're just really in research mode and you're not really taking action on the product yet, right? So you're just trying to have conversation. But what I can help you do on this call is I can help you get clarity on a couple things. Okay. One thing I'd like to help you get clarity on is what exactly is in your hands. So if you feel like there's certain things outside of your control that are not in your hands, I would like you to answer the question of what is in my control.
Okay,
Because when you answer that question, you can actually work from a place, the locus of control is now internal, and you can actually build off of that. So why don't you tell me a couple things that are in your control related to this idea?
What I have at this moment in my control is my out time. So the point is that I want to keep defining as much problem as possible related with the main ideas or the goals, and to keep validating with new people all the time. It is in my control, and also prepare the potential people or the dream team that at this moment I have two persons who understand or keep providing ideas about it. That's what I have for the moment. Many people, for example, listen to me and they think that it could be something great, or at least some feature could be great if we create something like this. And the point is that I have been collecting a lot of features and user stories, and this is what I have for the moment. On the other hand, I have an issue related with the path, because you can create it with the path of digital product, that it is like learn by doing, that you create something and you innovate and you start creating a prototype in that way. But for example, I have been also learning that the big techs create, for example, a provisional patent application first, and if you want to use this path, you can disclose the claims if you have potential claims. And in my case, I have attempting to make both cases, and I am able to make it. Uh, in fact, considering that if I share some ideas that could be protected by a patent, I can damage or I can fail with the prior art. But anyhow, in this case, I am able to use any path in terms that I want to achieve the main goal. So that's like the point. That the only thing that I have at this moment is to keep validating potential stakeholders, and that's like the most important things. For example, I invest my time in order to see people who is working on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, and I'm trying to send an invitation, and I need to wait if they accept me. And at this moment, for example, if I am here in Colombia, it will be harder to make it in virtual form. But if, for example, if I am located in Silicon Valley, I can reach people in presential events, or I try to visit the headquarters, for example. So that's like the point. For example, I also tried to obtain the support of the Foreign Relations Minister of Colombia, because I was reading the function of them, and I find that in a legal way they must support me in something like this, and it is out of my hand. For example, if we create a proposal with the support of the Minister of Foreign Relations from Colombia, and I can send it to the leaders of social network, I think that maybe it could work. But I attempted to make it through the government entrepreneurship agencies, and they also ignored it. So I had tried, attempted a lot of things, because as I told you, we are talking like something like the hashtags. So we need to discuss something like in that relation level, and we need to validate the posture of the people who are working in the social network. So that's like I am trying to make it first, because if, like I told you, is if I start with a prototype, um, maybe I can waste the time of the people created and user interfaces, or if we create something and we haven't validated in with the current user experience in the social network. So I am trying to start in that way, but I don't know. Maybe at any moment we have a serendipity moment and we say, okay, let's make something in order to start with something. I don't know. That's like the
Yeah.
point that I'm able to do that.
Let me ask you two. I'm going to ask you two questions, and I think that this might create a little bit of clarity for you moving forward. My first question is, what is validation? How do you know that you've achieved validation with this idea?
So I attempt to create taxonomies of different type of users. And for example, I told that I want to create to connect scientists with entrepreneurs or commercial entrepreneurs. So I try to validate some feature of user story with particular profiles of users, and also, for example, with universities or students in tertiary education. So I try to create hypotheses related to a particular type of user profile that I try to perceive, or for example, with inventors or people who's working on technology. So it's like that. What I'm trying to do to validate in order
So,
to
but
have.
tell me, like, what are the parameters of validation? Meaning, like, after we've talked to
So,
10
so,
universities, or after we've talked to this many scientists or whatever,
so
how do
sorry,
you
I
know?
can hear you well. Sorry,
Can you hear me now?
give me a moment. Give me a moment that someone else is making noise.
Okay. All right. Let me know if you can hear me.
Ben, ¿será que puedes dejar de hacer bulla que no me vas a escuchar? Gracias. Okay, I hear you now.
You can hear me okay?
Yes, I am hearing you now.
Okay. So I guess I'm looking for parameters. In other words, like, if a company is selling a product to, let's say, startups, and they might say, hey, after we've talked to 50, if we have positive responses from 50 startup companies, right, and they've given us positive feedback on this idea or product, then we're going to move on to step two. So if you haven't defined the validation parameters, you could spend years in validation and never really move the needle forward. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
So I would encourage you to set parameters around what validation means. That way you know if you actually hit it or not.
Yes, at this moment, I am not completely focused in that goal, because, as I told you, I am thinking about how we can create the future of the connection with internet. The point that the core idea is that if if we learn to set, or we create the macro trend, that's like the main challenge, to set goals and problems in the people, and if you share that kind of things on internet, I think that we can start to connect with people in a clear way, rather than the current way that it is more harder to connect with people with that kind of things. And the other point is that
So you're looking to, are you looking to create more of a trend online, or are you looking to actually build a product?
no, I think that we need to create first a macro trend, because if we don't create or we don't encourage or promote the macro trend, we will not able to create a product like this. Because you must understand that we need to integrate in a dashboard of that macro trend, that, for example, how you can connect with your user on WhatsApp or in Facebook or in Instagram or in LinkedIn, because you can track particular goals, and you say, okay, someone posted something related with your goal, and you can evaluate if you can connect with that person. That's like a particular example of a particular situation. So
Okay.
you need to create that. We how we can create the how might we to create the buttons in a particular social network. For example,
Mhm.
when you create a tweet on Twitter, or if you create a post on LinkedIn, you can evaluate if that person has a LinkedIn profile, and if you can evaluate automatically the skills. If you want, if for example, if you want to create a project or organization with someone else, that if you, for example, if you navigate co-founder lab, you will find something, some features. And the point is that we have a lot of options on the web, but we can connect with people for a particular cause, only for a non-profit. And sometimes you don't know the particular projects or goals or problems that are related with a non-profit. So you can connect it with activism. The point is that I have been doing like the UX benchmark, and I prefer to have a good research and good hypothesis when I have been validating or creating a product. And that's like the path that I have been forced to make it, because if it was in my hands, I would I and if I had the resources, I try to accelerate it as much as possible. As I told you, I try to go to reach the leaders, and for the moment I can. It has not been possible yet, so that's like the point, no? I'm trying to accelerate in that way, but I need that we need to evaluate how to create that macro trend, and I am perceiving that it will be something relevant at any point, but it is out of my hands. I need to keep exploring. That's like what I
Interesting.
try to do.
So there's a couple of resources that I have that come to mind that are related to building a micro trend and kind of almost building it around the idea. Would you like me to send those to you?
Of course. Good, thank you.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll send those to you via email, and I think that'll help you kind of get a little bit of strategy around creating that micro trend that you're talking about, but also to creating an audience around the idea in the event that you eventually want to productize the idea and take advantage of the trend.
Right.
So if it's okay with you, what I'll do is I'll just I'll pull those resources up. There's a couple ones that come to mind, and I'll go and pull those up, and then what I'll do is I'll send them over to you via email if
Great.
that works.
Great. Thank you. I want
And
to
I
ask
think
you,
that
how are you working in the coaching process? Are you searching for equity, or are you receiving a particular fees? How do it work?
yeah, we receive fees. It's a flat fee per month from the founder. We don't take equity, and really we provide coaching services. We provide access to other software companies and founders, and we also provide a lot of content. So like if you were to look at like the the portal that we have, it's like full of content. I'll just kind of give you a little taste of like what it looks like. So if you can see my screen, can you see my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing your screen.
So like if you drop into like Growth Accelerator, for example, you can see that we have a whole litany. There's organization to it, but there's a whole litany of different modules that we have. An example is like the partnership playbook, right? You jump in, and here you have like a 2-hour training on building partners, and then you'll have outlines, and you'll have like actual workbooks that you can download and apply to the business. And Dan basically walks you through like what it looks like to actually apply that to your business and that sort of thing. So we have this kind of stuff. We have coaching calls that we do, and we have access to an entire community of other software founders inside of our programs. And we just we just charge a flat fee monthly, and we don't take an equity position. It's typically a 1-year engagement that the founder is looking at. So that's how we work with the public. It's all B2B, by the way, so it's all software that you're selling to other businesses. Yeah, again, I have a couple of resources that come to mind when I think about the stage of business that you're at and trying to build this trend and build an audience around the idea. And I think that they'll be valuable to you and kind of like the next step of continuing to push the trend and do your best to have more conversations and get more buy-in around the idea.
So, considering that you are working in the process of initiative boosting, of when someone is trying to accelerate a startup, what do you think if we explore together particular fields where we can automatize the process and innovate in the user experience with specific efforts in this process? So, in order to like I told you, I have been researching potential features, like for example, when you start to when you have an idea alone, you can set an scheme to create a timer, considering the number of time that you've invested. And for example, one idea is that then you can use the different information of data in social network, and you can connect with people that you match with the skills. And you, for example, can use LinkedIn, and you can propose something to use a search engine to connect with someone who you can be compatible by skills, and you can keep that search engine open. But the point is that you have something to start by yourself, but then you can validate how to use the other social network and validate if you can use an API. So I think that maybe we can match the creation of a new product, considering that you are focused in that stage. And I am sure that at any moment we will create something amazing. And for the reason I told you, that I am open to any partnership or anything that could be related to that point. In fact, if you read my LinkedIn, I'm talking that I am designing the future of initiative boosting. It can be considered in that term of project articulation, because if you understand the project like temporary effort to create some to achieve some goals, and you can define if you have your project management, for example, software. If we create something like this, you can then articulate with another compatible projects, and with that in mind, you can create a new way to create organization. You can make a fusion or something like this. And for example, if you track your equity and you always keep everything in order related with your management process in all of that challenges that you must face, that's like what I'm trying to do. That's like something that we can explore deep later. But I just want
Yeah.
to tell you that I am able to make something like this, and uh, it will be great if you want to evaluate something like this.
Yeah. I think let's continue to stay in touch, and I'll send you some resources that I think can help you at where you're at. That can help you kind of like maybe like focus a little better, or even accelerate what you're doing right now. And then we'll stay in touch. And when you're ready to kind of explore, uh, features or the product a little bit more, then let's reconnect. Does that sound good?
Great, great, awesome.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time, Andres. It's been good chatting with you, and continue to follow us. If you're not following us on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then also too, if you're eventually when you start looking at the product, I'd like you to join our public Facebook group that we have for SaaS founders.
Great, awesome. Okay. Thanks
Okay,
for
man.
your time, and have a good day.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you for the time. We'll talk soon.
See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.